North Carolina is often introduced with a neat split. Mountains in the west, ocean in the east, and a rolling middle stitched together by rivers and longleaf pine. For nature lovers, that geography isn't a slogan, it's an itinerary. The state holds one of America's great scenic drives, one of its most biologically rich mountain forests, a gorge that feels almost primeval, and a ribbon of barrier islands where wind and water keep rewriting the map. Consider this a field guide in narrative form. 15 standout experiences across the Blue Ridge Parkway, Pisgah, Linville Gorge, and the Outer Banks, with the history and practical know-how that helps a first-time visitor move through these places with confidence and curiosity. Begin in the Blue Ridge, where elevation creates its own climate. The Blue Ridge Parkway was built during the Great Depression as a public works project and a scenic corridor linking Shenandoah National Park in Virginia to Great Smoky Mountains National Park in North Carolina. In North Carolina, it becomes a long, high balcony over ridge lines and coves, designed for slow travel, no billboards, no commercial traffic, and curves that insist you pay attention. The first essential stop is the Lynn Cove Viaduct near Grandfather Mountain, an engineering solution to a conservation problem. Rather than blasting a road across fragile slopes, engineers built a sweeping, elevated concrete ribbon that seems to float along the mountainside. It's one of the Parkway's most photographed stretches, but it's also a reminder that scenic travel can be planned with restraint. Park at the visitor center and take the short trail under and around the structure. You'll see how the viaduct's segments were assembled with minimal disturbance to the terrain. Not far away, the second highlight is Grandfather Mountain itself, famous for its rugged profile and for weather that can turn abruptly. The mountain sits at a crossroads of habitats, and that ecological variety supports rare species and a surprising range of plant life. Even if you don't tackle the more exposed routes, you can learn a lot by walking the lower trails and paying attention to how spruce fir communities appear at higher elevations, relics of colder eras. If you do hike the more technical paths, treat them like mountaineering in miniature. Grippy shoes, a careful eye on wet rock, and a plan to turn around if fog or thunderstorms move in. The third Parkway classic is Mount Mitchell State Park, home to the highest peak east of the Mississippi River at 6,684 feet. The summit can feel almost alpine, and the air is often markedly cooler than Asheville or the foothills. The mountain is named for Elisha Mitchell, a geologist who died in 1857 while trying to confirm his measurements of the peak's height, an early scientific story that still echoes in the park's identity. The paved path to the summit observation area is short, but the landscape around it rewards patience. Wind-shaped evergreens, sudden cloud banks, and a sense of scale that makes the Piedmont seem impossibly far away. Bring a layer, even in summer. Hypothermia is rare, but the chill is real. Fourth, set aside time for Craggy Gardens, where the Parkway earns its reputation for seasonal drama. In late spring and early summer, the rhododendron bloom can turn the balds and slopes into a saturated pink and purple display, but the place is compelling in any season. The high-elevation heath balds, open areas maintained by wind, weather, and historically by fire, create panoramic views with a botanical twist. If you're visiting on a weekend during peak bloom, arrive early, parking fills fast, and the quiet that makes Craggy feel remote is easiest to find in the morning. Fifth, follow the Parkway south to Water Rock Knob, one of the most accessible high viewpoints in the region. On clear days, you can see into both North Carolina and Tennessee. And at sunset, the ridges stack into blue layers that gave the mountains their name. It's also a good place to learn the basic geography of the Appalachians. Long, parallel ridges formed by ancient uplift and erosion, with coves that shelter farms and forests in the folds. From the Parkway, drop into Pisgah National Forest, one of the oldest managed forests in the eastern United States. Pisgah's modern story begins with the conservation movement and with George Washington Vanderbilt, whose Biltmore estate included vast forested lands. The forester Gifford Pinchot, who would later lead the U.S. Forest Service, worked here, and the area became a testing ground for scientific forestry in America. Pisgah today is a mosaic: waterfalls, hardwood coves, high ridges, and a recreation culture that ranges from fly fishing to mountain biking. Sixth on the list is Looking Glass Rock, a quartzite dome that catches light after rain and, from a distance, can look polished. The hike is a steady climb through changing forest zones, and the payoff is a cliff-edge view over Pisgah's folds and the nearby communities. Go early to avoid afternoon thunderstorms in summer, and remember that the exposed rock can be slick when wet. Seventh, visit Sliding Rock, a natural water slide that has become a beloved rite of summer. A smooth, inclined slab funnels cold mountain water into a deep pool, and the experience is exactly what it sounds like: fast, bracing, and loud with laughter. It's also managed carefully. Lifeguards in season, limits when conditions are unsafe, because swift water and cold shock are serious hazards. If you want the place at its most peaceful, go on a weekday morning in shoulder season and simply watch the water trace the rock's contours. Eighth, seek out the waterfall corridor around Brevard. Looking Glass Falls is roadside and photogenic, while Moore Cove Falls offers a gentler hike and the rare pleasure of walking behind a veil of water when conditions allow. These falls are textbook examples of how the Blue Ridge Escarpment works, an abrupt rise where rivers tumble from high plateau to lower elevations, carving dramatic drops in relatively short distances. Ninth, for a different kind of Pisgah immersion, spend time along the Davidson River. This is fly fishing country, with cold, clear water and a long tradition of angling. Even if you don't fish, the river corridor is a lesson in riparian ecology. Hemlocks and rhododendron along the banks, aquatic insects that underpin the food chain, and the constant reshaping of gravel bars after heavy rain. Keep an eye out for restoration work. The region has faced pressure from invasive pests like the hemlock woolly adelgid, and you'll often see evidence of ongoing conservation. Now shift north and slightly east to one of the most dramatic landscapes in the eastern U.S., Linville Gorge, often called the Grand Canyon of the East. It's not a canyon in the southwestern sense, no red rock amphitheaters, but it shares that feeling of depth, exposure, and rawness. The gorge cuts through the Linville Mountain and Jonas Ridge wilderness, and much of it is designated wilderness area, which means fewer signs, fewer amenities, and a stronger requirement that visitors be self-reliant. 10th, stand at Wiseman's View for a wide-angle introduction. From this overlook, you can see the Linville River far below, and the gorge walls rising in layered rock. It's an ideal place to understand the scale before committing to more demanding trails. The road to the overlook is gravel. Drive slowly, and after heavy rain, check conditions. 11th, for hikers, the Linville Gorge Trail offers a strenuous, sometimes rugged route that stays close to the river, with frequent crossings and sections that can be overgrown. This is where Linville earns its reputation. It's not curated wilderness. Navigation skills matter, water levels matter, and a conservative plan is wise. In warm months, be alert for heat and humidity in the lower gorge. In cooler months, remember that daylight fades early between steep walls. The reward is intimacy with the river and the sense of moving through a landscape that has resisted easy domestication. 12th, visit Linville Falls, where the river narrows and drops in a series of cascades. The falls sit near the boundary between the Parkway's accessibility and the gorge's wild character. Multiple viewpoints let you see the water from different angles, and the geology is part of the spectacle. hard rock layers shaping the river's path, forcing it into chutes and plunges. Stay on marked trails here. The temptation to scramble onto wet rock near the falls has led to serious accidents. From mountains to coast, the Outer Banks feel like a different country. Long barrier islands built from sand, shaped by storms, and separated from the mainland by sounds and inlets. These islands exist in a constant negotiation with the Atlantic. Their history includes indigenous communities, early English colonization attempts, piracy lore, life-saving stations, and modern battles over erosion and development. The Outer Banks are not static land. They are moving land, and the best way to appreciate them is to treat them as living geography. 13th, start with Cape Hatteras National Seashore, the first national seashore in the United States, established in 1937. This is a place where wind is a daily presence and where beach driving, fishing, birding, and simple wandering coexist, sometimes with strict seasonal rules to protect nesting shorebirds and sea turtles. The beaches here are wide and often less urban than many East Coast strands, but conditions can be powerful. Learn the difference between the ocean side and the sound side. The ocean offers surf and longshore currents. The sound offers calmer water, shallow flats, and some of the best kiteboarding conditions on the East Coast. 14th, make time for the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse and the story it tells about navigation and coastal danger. The Outer Banks were once called the graveyard of the Atlantic because shifting shoals and stormy waters caused countless shipwrecks. Lighthouses were not decorative, they were survival infrastructure. The Hatteras Lighthouse, with its distinctive black and white spiral, was moved inland in 1999 to save it from the encroaching sea, a rare moment when an iconic structure literally relocated to keep pace with erosion. That move is an engineering and policy story as much as a coastal one, and it underscores the reality that barrier islands don't promise permanence. 15th, head north to Jockey's Ridge State Park in Nags Head, home to the tallest natural sand dune system in the eastern United States. The dunes look almost desert-like at sunset, but they're surrounded by maritime forest and the waters of Roanoke Sound. Jockey's Ridge is also a lesson in how landscapes can be protected through public interest. The dunes were threatened by development until citizens pushed for preservation. Walk the ridges, feel how wind sculpts the sand under your feet, and notice how quickly footprints vanish. If you're curious about human flight, this is also the right region to connect with the Wright brothers' story. At nearby Kill Devil Hills, where steady winds and soft sand helped make early aviation experiments possible. A few travel principles tie all these places together. In the mountains, weather changes with elevation. Pack layers, carry water, and respect afternoon storms. In Pisgah and Linville, cell service can be unreliable. A paper map or downloaded offline map is not old-fashioned, it's prudent. In Linville Gorge especially, treat trails as backcountry routes. Tell someone your plan and don't assume quick rescue. On the coast, learn the language of tides, currents, and storm forecasts. Rip currents can form even on calm-looking days, and sound-side shallows can hide sudden drop-offs. In every region, give wildlife space. Stay on durable surfaces where required, and expect seasonal closures designed to protect fragile habitats. North Carolina's outdoor identity isn't one landscape repeated. It's a sequence of distinct worlds connected by roads, rivers, and cultural memory. The Blue Ridge Parkway offers a curated corridor of overlooks and high meadows shaped by New Deal ambition and careful design. Pisgah carries the legacy of American forestry and the exuberance of waterfalls and river valleys. Linville Gorge holds a rarer feeling in the east, true ruggedness, where the land sets the terms. The Outer Banks, meanwhile, are a moving frontier of sand and sea, where human history, shipwrecks, lighthouses, settlements, has always been written in pencil, not ink. Visit with patience, prepare with respect, and you'll come away with more than photos. You'll have a working sense of how a single state can contain so many versions of wildness.